this morning I got up and I was drinking my cup of coffee and I was scrolling through my phone like I do in the mornings, that you probably do in your mornings too. And I came across this course that promised to help us use their specifically designed production calendar to organize my life. It was this master course in organization. And I'm thinking that Facebook must look at my calendar to see how bonkers my actual calendar life is. All my life, I have been trying to find this balance between work and the rest of it, trying to find this work-life balance. I've used all kinds of things like courses off the internet or books to help me try and figure out what exactly that magic strategy is, or apps. I've logged my hours from work, and I've tracked things in a little like dot calendar in order to try and achieve this work-life balance. But there's one thing that I have learned, and I think that in our ever-changing, fast culture, I actually believe that work-life balance is a lie. It is absolutely a lie. I mean, I get that some people feel like they've nailed it with taking their master course or with their app, and I feel like we all have to question why we feel like we need to continue to strive for some kind of ideal balance in our lives. Why do we seek this in our lives? I think the idea of what we can accomplish in a day is actually beyond our actual ability to accomplish it. Our brain can come up with 2,000 scenarios of things that we could possibly do with any given 24 hours, but we're only able to accomplish a small fraction of it, which means that most of us, we're just left trying to figure out, and we feel disappointed that we didn't accomplish all of those 2,000 things. Our work these days is broader and bigger and brighter, and I believe that productivity is a trap. We're sold this message that what we accomplish in our life is what our value is based on. And I think that it scatters our thoughts in ways that we can't hardly bring them all back together. We live in a world that is so filled with mental noise that we couldn't possibly balance it all. Our brains start to go through this litany of expectation. I need to reschedule that doctor's appointment, and I think we're probably out of laundry detergent. Or I need to pay the association fees, or it's my friend's birthday, so I need to be sure to send a text or call or maybe a Facebook message, or maybe all three if it's a really good friend. I need to make sure that my kids' swimsuits fit because I know that they've grown so much since last year. And I wonder, have the dog had their meds today, or did someone remember to feed the dog? And I think that we are out of ketchup, and I know I need to defrost the chicken for dinner. Oh, and then that person had a baby, so I need to make sure that I create a freezer meal for them to be able to have this baby. We all have this mental load in today's society that is just honestly just too much. The expectation of what we can or we are expected to accomplish in a day, it's beyond anything that it has ever been before in human history. And we keep striving for this work-life balance that doesn't exist. I've yet to meet someone in my life that actually feels like they have a work-life balance. Some of you retirees may say, you know what? I achieved work-life balance only when I retired. Right? Oliver Berkman, in his book 4,000 Weeks, he writes it like this. He says, "The day will never arrive that you finally have everything under control, when the flood of emails has been contained, or when your to-do lists have stopped getting longer and all your meeting obligations at work and in your home life. The day will never come when nobody's angry with you for missing a deadline or dropping a ball, when the fully optimized person you can become at every turn at long lies to the things that life is really supposed to be about. Let's start by admitting defeat, that none of this work-life balance is ever going to happen. If you do manage some sort of work-life balance, there's always something there right beyond you trying to push you out of it, like an unexpected bill or an unexpected illness, or even just a bad mood that you have on a particular day of yours, or your loved one comes in the room in a bad mood. So here's my question for us. How do we achieve some sort of peace in the midst of all the things that go on in the course of a lifetime? I want to offer you an alternative to work-life balance. The first point I want to make is that your worth is not dependent upon your productivity. God makes it very clear in the scriptures that your worth is dependent only on what God thinks of you and not what the world thinks of you. Paul in the book of 2 Corinthians puts it like this: "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness." I want you to think about this for a little bit. Does a baby or an Alzheimer's patient, do they not have worth because they aren't productive? No, that is ridiculous. Their worth is immeasurable. But we do this to ourselves all the time, thinking that our worth is based on what we accomplish or do in a day. But here's my truth for you all today. Your worth is not dependent on what you do. Your worth is not dependent on your productivity. And the second thing I think we can pick up from this challenge of work-life balance is that you actually control your time. When we stop trying to do it all, I think it frees how we live in the time that we are given. If you read scripture, Jesus was not once, not a single time in a hurry to go get things done. And we all know that he accomplished the biggest thing that anyone could ever possibly accomplish. Before coming to Calvary, I worked as a volunteer as a hospital chaplain, and I was in this Trauma 1 hospital. So it was the kind of place where people were life-flighted in from other hospitals and got life-flighted only to other big hospitals like Mayo Clinic or Chicago hospitals. One evening when I was there, I had an overnight shift, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. We had 4 traumas come in through Life Flight, which is a lot. It was car accidents with children involved. It was really, really tough. And 4 in one night, this was unthinkable. Usually you get 1, maybe 2, sometimes none. 2 was kind of a max, but 4 traumas. And all that night I sat and I went and cared for these families who just had gone through the unthinkable. And I found myself exhausted. And it was about 5 o'clock in the morning when I finally made my way back to the chaplain's room, and I sat down in the chair. And all of a sudden I'm sitting there and my pager, it goes off again. That's right, a 5th trauma in one night. So I quick pour a cup of coffee into a styrofoam cup, and then I slam it down and I start running down the hallway to go meet this family for the 5th trauma. And as I am running down this to the emergency room in this trauma center, that's when I ran into Michael. Now, Michael was this 5 foot tall Italian custodian who had just started his shift at about 4:30. And he looked at me and he said, "Angela, slow down and breathe. Angie, walk and breathe. It doesn't matter if you get there 5 seconds earlier. It matters how you walk into that space." Oh, it was such a good lesson for me about time. Jesus, when he lost his friend Lazarus, he heard about the news that his friend was dying, and he didn't go rush to be by his side. Instead, Jesus took his time. He didn't actually get to Bethany until 4 days after Lazarus had died. And why? Because God has got us. God has got us through all the good and all the bad. So we don't have to worry about being productive and rushing. So number 1, your worth is not dependent and determined by what you do, by your productivity. And number 2, you control the time and space that you walk into. You don't have to hurry and you don't have to rush. My friends, this whole week, we're going to talk on the Daily Dose. We're going to talk about this work-life balance, and we're going to talk about strategies to overcome that myth that work-life balance is achievable in our lives. And we're going to actually get down to what God says about it. The truth is that God has got you, and God thinks that you are incredible and more valuable than anything else. And that means that God has got you in all the work that you get to do too. We'll see you tomorrow.